British health experts have warned the government to brace for a second wave of coronavirus infections as more businesses prepare to reopen next month. In a letter published in the British Medical Journal, experts are calling for a review into areas of weakness to prevent new cases from rising again. The warning follows Prime Minister Boris Johnson's announcement of sweeping changes to lockdown restrictions. They include reducing the 2-metre distancing rule to 1-metre plus rule. The changes also pave the way for pubs, restaurants, hotels and cinemas to begin reopening from the 4th of July. Now with more, Ollie Barrett joins us from London. Ollie, do tell us then, the government under fire again, it seems, for a lack of clarity on reopening.
Certainly there is some confusion about exactly the strategy that the government has decided to take here. There are lots of questions about the establishments that the UK government believes can reopen and those that can't. Why can hair salons and barbers, some ask, open, but not nail bars? Why can tennis be played but not cricket at an amateur level? Why can libraries open but not casinos? Why can cinemas open but not indoor gyms? Now, the government insists that each of those cases has been thought through very carefully and it's acting on clear scientific advice. It also insists that there is very clear guidance now in place for those establishments that do want to reopen on July the 4th. For the pubs, the restaurants, the bars, limited numbers, taking contact details on arrival, for example. Now, Boris Johnson says that July the 4th should not be a time when people overdo it, when they're allowed back into pubs and restaurants, but it will be a Saturday. And so many in the trade are very worried indeed about keeping punters in check.
The 4th of July is a Saturday when we know the world goes absolute mad and everyone wants to go out on a Saturday. And we're going to get whammed when really, if it started on Monday, we could break in gently.
Ollie, health experts are calling for a rapid and forward-looking assessment. So what are some of their key recommendations then?
Yeah, what they want the government to do is conduct an urgent review into what's coming in the next phase of all of this. They want to know that the government is fully prepared for the next stages of dealing with the outbreak, even as infections and the mortality rate continue to fall on basically a day-by-day basis here in the UK. They want to know that the test, track and trace system is up to scratch. They want to hear more about the app that is going to be used in the future, but that isn't ready yet. As part of that test, trace and track system, they want to hear all sorts of detail about how the government is going to respond to the challenges that come in the future. They say this should be done on a non-partisan, cross-party basis. They also say it shouldn't be about looking back and criticising the government for what's happened so far. As I say, though, the UK government insists that it has everything in place to move to this next phase and is not doing so in anything other than a very cautious way.
Ollie, we're also hearing of coronavirus clusters emerging in places like Leicester. Are officials prepared for a second wave?
Certainly they say they are. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, was very clear in the overnight UK time Downing Street COVID-19 briefing that he is very much expecting that there will be local flare-ups. We hear the same thing from his chief scientific advisor and his chief medical officer as well. What Boris Johnson's government is saying is that it hopes that from now on, flare-ups will be dealt with locally. There will be local lockdowns as and when required. We've heard this from Boris Johnson in the Prime Minister's question session that's just happened in the House of Commons as well. He says that if there's a flare-up in a school or a hospital or a meat processing plant, you can lock that place down. You can trace the contacts of people who've tested positive. You can deal with it on a localised basis with a localised lockdown. Boris Johnson, though, says he is very, very clear that if nationwide lockdown measures need to be reintroduced, if the handbrake, as he describes it, needs to be applied again, he will not hesitate.
Thanks for that. Ollie Barrett speaking to us from London.